Hi, I'm Bran, and I love Hallmark Plus. What did we call it?
Christmas
Mysteries.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark Plus Christmas Mysteries.
I'm Alonso, and LA is having a week, let me tell you. And this
Is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Well,
boy.
hello, everybody.
Boy, oh, boy.
Merry Christmas to you. Alonso, it is great to see you. And I will just say, typically we do this thing where we act like we came in early on Monday.
On
and
Monday.
we recorded this.
We're not going to do it
We're
today.
not going to do it because,
That's right.
There's a whole situation going on in Los Angeles. Alonso, you are obviously safe because you're with us, but you
And
did
you
have
purchased
to.
some checker pattern.
That's right.
yes.
Yes.
blinds back
But
there.
you did
Shades.
evacuate, and so I'm not going to do this thing where on Monday where I'm like, everything's great because I don't know what's going to happen in the next day.
It is an unfolding situation. As we like to
Absolutely,
But-
but it is great to see you and a pro's pro who, in the midst of crisis,
has all his podcast
yes,
gear,
still
which
shows
is
up
great.
ready to go.
I know what my priorities are, So it's like, did we get, do I have my passport? Yes. Did I bring my little camera thing so I could talk to you guys? Yes. Also,
Alonso's go bag includes a microphone and a ring light.
That's right. Ready to go.
Alonso, it should speak volumes to how much people love you that people reached out, not just in the Double Decker community, just random people that listen to the show reached out on Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger to ask and to confirm that you were safe. Several people in Canada were like, is Alonso safe? Like, we have to protect Alonso at all costs. And we couldn't agree more. So there you go.
Thank you, everybody who has reached out. I got a lot of messages myself. Jax texted me from Africa. So,
Wow.
I really...
we're gonna get an inch of snow, so sames everybody. It's just
Listen.
as dire here. No one has even checked on
If
us.
the ice comes, I'm just telling you, if the power goes out again, you may hear everyone scream in the streets. Yeah.
If we get any ice, forget about it.
My wife, my parents live up here in a 1,700 square foot house. And my wife looked at me and she goes, Daniel, if the power goes out, we're taking the dogs, we're taking the kids, and we're going to your parents' house. I can't do it again. And I was like, I don't know if I'm with you.
I'm sure your listeners in Michigan are like rolling their eyes at this, but no, in the South, ice is a very, very big deal.
If we get 4 inches of snow and a half-inch ice, we are in some big trouble. We'll see tomorrow at this time. So
that's right. Atlanta,
Ooh.
where your old neck of the woods is in the snow ice area as well. So it could be an interesting weekend here.
Get it out of the way now before the deckies.
That's exactly right.
Because you have one chance to see Alonso Duralde in formal wear, and it happens in a week and a half.
Alonso, have you given it any thought as to what or who you are wearing, if you will? And I don't want you to give it away, but I want to know if you've given it thought.
Let's just say that it turns out the LA Film Critics had to postpone their awards dinner. But, getting ready for that, Dave and I were sort of like digging through the closet and realizing, we haven't worn a tie since before the pandemic. So it's been a thing of just sort of like rooting through and figuring out what still fits, what still works. And so it will be something hopefully memorable, but yeah, it will be my first outing, even trying, to look, like dressy in a good long while.
Well, if you can't find anything, we could always, when you get here, we could do a vlog of us going out and picking out tuxes, do a montage.
Yeah.
We'll shave. We'll do the whole makeover sequence that you see in all the movies. It'll be a whole thing.
Don't tease me with a good time.
Did you hear about the scandal that we overcame here at the office?
I heard there were some voting shenanigans.
Yeah, the insurrection that we conquered here. It was unbelievable.
Exactly right.
We stopped the
Mayor
steal.
Daley's numbers were like more than the population of Chicago, apparently.
Listen, the first week of January is always tough, and we have figured it out. But we are working on the investigative series about it. Yeah, where we're doing all the interviews.
We stopped the steal, but we've got more to do. We've got more.
Still got more to do.
I do want to say real quick, I do very much appreciate the concern from all over the place that we were okay. But I think that people don't quite understand like how large Southern California is, because a lot of times the worst stuff that you see on TV is happening so far from us. Like we barely register that it's happening. This one, however, when the fire broke out in Runyon Canyon, which is pretty close to our house, that was when we were like, maybe that whole evacuation thing we talked about earlier, let's do that.
Yeah. Because normally it doesn't affect you guys, but that is
it's usually like way off, like on the coast, in the coastal communities, or way off somewhere else. But this is massive, and it got into a lot of different parts of town.
And I do know, like our friend of the show, Cameron Matheson, unfortunately lost his house. He's the only one that I know that has had that happen. But it's tough. It's crazy to see, like, just from afar watching the news. It's like I can't even really comprehend it. It's wild.
Even for a city that is this Old Testament for the fires and floods and mudslides and earthquakes,
volcanoes
we go
with
through,
Tommy Lee Jones, yes,
whatever it is, exactly. When the La Brea tar pits explode, this is like next level, even for Los Angeles. So we're going to be dealing with this for a while.
That geographical thing is a lot like how people think that if you live in South Carolina, you live it, like if you're not near us, like people in Canada are like, oh, I heard something about the Carolinas, and they just think it's all
it's the Carolinas.
I heard about something that happened, in
something happened in Kentucky. Are you
right. Yeah, exactly.
We're good.
I think we're going to be all right. Yeah.
Let's talk Mistletoe Murders, shall we?
Yeah.
We have EPs 3 and 4.
Yeah, we do.
Known as Peril of the Bells. Fantastic.
And they bring that song in at the end, so kudos to them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Those episodes dropped on the Hallmark Plus, which, again, you can add now to your Philo account. Watch us. Philo Deep Dive is back.
Mm-hmm.
You can get Hallmark Plus. Lots of reasons to have the Philo. Some people think that this time the Philo with the Hallmark is just for the holiday seasons. No, sir, no matter.
No, sir.
It is all year. All fun.
You're going to watch those Irish movies.
Philo.com/BTH. You get it.
Stop selling.
Yes, November 14th and 21st is when these episodes dropped, and it went a little something like this. The episode kicks off back in the shop, and Christmas is in full swing now on the date. I don't know when it is, but Christmas tree lighting is coming up, so you do the math. Emily hears some Christmas carolers, and she gets pretty excited about this. She's always dreamt of being
in a choir.
Yes. And so she goes out, and she's just kind of like enjoying herself, kind of. The lead singer, Debbie, who's doing like a solo, she's making some choices, you might say. Then suddenly a giant sleigh falls on her, and we're like, oh my gosh, she got pancaked to death. She's gonzo. She's not. She is not dead. It actually fell in the perfect way for her to not be injured at all. So it's dope. Cut to Emily waking up once again from a crazy dream about her past life. She grabs some coffee, opens up a briefcase, and she looks at a picture of what we assume is her family from a past life. She grabs a USB drive that's going to shield her identity while she does some searching on the computer. She's trying to track down someone known as Chimera.
Chimera.
Gotta,
Chimera,
yeah, and that's the person that is responsible for the thing with the explosion.
For the thing.
Back at the store, Emily is greeted by Brooke Carmichael, who is part of the choir, also known as the Bells, and she wants to put up a flyer for the concerts at the Christmas tree lighting, and tells Emily that some of the Bells think that this accident that happened is not so much an accident at all, because some other things have been happening, including the death of a member. Clara's dead. She was killed in a hit and run, though. It's not related necessarily to the choir, but it's a coincidence at the very least. So Emily goes to check out the sleigh that fell, which Sam is also looking into. He suspects that, he's not sure, but he's wondering if something was going on. And she looks at the sleigh, and she's like, yep, this is nefarious, because the way that this is, it's not supposed to fall, this whole thing. So she's convinced. So she decides that the best course of action is to audition to join the Bells so that she can keep an eye on them and kind of begin to poke around, sleuth a bit. She is going to rely on Violet, Sam's daughter, to lock up the store, and she gives her a key to do so. I'm sure that nothing will go wrong in regards to the key. After practice, she talks to a guy named Lance, who is very bummed about Clara, because she was the key to their success. He insists that the other members were jealous of her. She sees Clara's husband, Adam, leaving the diner, so she goes to talk to him. He says that he knows for a fact that Clara was murdered by the Bells, and he drives off. At the next practice, Debbie begins gasping for air, and her EpiPen isn't in her purse, which she had just complained had been moved. She ends up surviving again. Good Lord, Debbie. Sam pulls Emily aside and formally asks her for her help. He wants her to keep an eye on Debbie. Why Debbie? Why would Debbie be a suspect or someone to keep an eye on? Well, apparently Debbie was a person of interest, a suspect, if you will, in the hit and run case, but they didn't have quite enough evidence to bring her in. Is it possible that she's faking these murder attempts to try to prove that she wasn't the one who killed Clara? Because someone's attacking me, so clearly I wasn't the one that was attacking. So it's a whole thing. The next day, Debbie comes into the shop to thank Emily for saving her life. Emily gets right to work asking her prying questions. Debbie claims that she doesn't even have a car anymore, so she's not driving anywhere. I ain't driving. She headed haul away months ago. Emily was like, "Oh, did you use Adam? Did Adam haul it away?" And she's like, "Adam doesn't like me very much. He showed up at my house late one night demanding that I tell him who in the Bells Clara was having an affair with." And she insists that if she was having an affair, everyone would know about it. There's not a secret like that could be kept in the Bells. So Emily calls Sam, basically saying, "Hey, Adam thinks that Clara was having an affair." That kind of sounds like motive for murder. So they go to his house, but he's not there. On the way back into town, they find his truck has gone off the road, but Adam is nowhere to be found. So they call in a search and rescue team to search the woods, because if he's out in the woods, he couldn't survive the night in this cold. Emily heads back to her shop and she sees a masked man leaving the store. She tries to chase him down, but he loses her. She has to call the police, and Sam comes to check it out. And she's like, "Was it locked?" And she's like, "Absolutely, it was locked. No doubt in my mind." At the next Bells rehearsal, the leader, Vera, who is like kind of like conducting and whatnot, says that Debbie won't be making it to the Christmas tree lighting, so she's going to take her place. It is clear that Brooke is upset about that. Debbie eventually shows up to practice, though, and tries to sing the solo, but she can't. Vera says, "You can't do this." And they get into a little bit of a fight. And Debbie's talking how Debbie's funding has gone down a little bit. And she's like, "That's why you're taking my solo away." It's a whole thing. Vera insists that her money can't buy her the solo. And Debbie leaves. Emily figures out that the key was stolen from Violet's by a punk kid. So she goes to scare that kid straight. And he admits it, and it's a great moment. Doesn't really matter to the case, but it's a great moment. Later, she goes to poke around at Adam's place. She sees a covered car and a few other cars that are basically identical, and they're all the car that struck Clara. And so, like, he had been getting every car that he could possibly find that matches the identity of that. She finds one that is covered, and she smells bleach when she lifts up the cover. She goes back to the trunk, and she cuts her hand as she's trying to open it up. And when she does finally open it up, it is Adam. He is dead. Later, while she's talking to Sam, she remembers something that happened earlier. Vera had a Band-Aid on her hand in the exact place that she also got a cut.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, it's just a paper cut."
That's empirical proof right there, man.
That's exactly right. But the cut is exactly the same. And so Sam goes to pick Vera up to talk to her. They test her blood. It matches the blood on the trunk door. That's tough. So he begins to question her, pressure her, and it comes out that Clara was going to leave the Bells for another group. Vera was hurt by this because she'd basically mentored Clara into becoming this star and was hurt by that. And so grabbed Debbie's old car, hit her, whole thing. And so when Adam said that, she was like freaked out because Adam goes and she tells her, he tells her that he knows that it was Debbie, and she's like, it wasn't Debbie, so I gotta figure this out. And so she goes to drug him, and by time so that she can wipe the car, do the whole thing. She didn't mean to kill him, but he got in his car post drugs, and then he swerved off, and so when she found him, she threw him in the trunk of the car that she'd
cleaned. Yes.
But the crime is solved. But she remembers, however, that Adam was in charge of the electricity, the wiring of the Christmas tree, and that Adam was actively trying to kill Debbie. And so she thinks that he was planning something for that night. So she gets there just in time as the bells are singing, and Brooke is now singing the solo in front of the microphone. She goes and she pushes Brooke out of the way just in time, because as they light the tree, it causes a surge of power to run up the microphone, and it catches on fire. She would have died, but Emily saves the day. Sam is impressed by this, and they have a heart-to-heart, and she begins to open up about her past, or at least the past that she's able to share about. And she gets back to her place, and suddenly her computer screen shows a message that says, "I know that you're there, and I'm going to find you." And that, my friends, was Mistletoe Murders, Peril of the Bells.
We did it.
Let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to break these 2 episodes down.
This one movie down.
Here on
Deck the Hallmark.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking Mistletoe Murders. We're talking Eps 2 and 3. Sorry, 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, here we go.
Because I know how to count.
You got it.
That's right. Let's get to the hot take, so we share exactly how we felt about these things. Let's start with you, Alonso. Alonso, what did you think about the Peril of the Bells?
This was actually pretty fun. I like, so often I think in Hallmark movies, they try and present, these sort of picture perfect small towns where everybody gets along and we're all going to band together to save the gazebo or whatever. And so I love that if you want like backbiting and ish talking and gossip and resentments, the choir, that's where you're going to find that action. And they do. So yeah, I kind of like, you would think she was joining the mob the way people are like, oh, you're not in the Bells, are you? So yeah, I thought was a lot of fun. I like this sort of going back and looking at this again. I kind of like the slow unpacking of what we learn about Sarah Drew's character and who she is and where she comes from and what drives her, like why a Christmas store and all that kind of stuff. So that's been fun to watch. So yeah, it's I read a thing once. There's actually like a kind of a collection of academic writing about Hallmark Channel movies. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And somebody sort of breaks down the mysteries and how it always turns out that it's never like the working class person and it's never the rich person. It's usually somebody in the middle who is aspiring to be rich and doing something terrible because of it. And so that'll get you through most of these, figuring out who done it, and that kind of applies here too.
Yeah, I thought that this one was really fun, and everything I said last week about Sarah Drew remains true. She's so good in this, and the narration is really fun.
The narration's great.
The little things that she adds in these short little gaps are it's really fun, and it makes me very happy. because it's one of those things that I feel like there's been other times where Hallmark has done like, hey, we're going to do narration. And then there's like half of the movie or runtime of something that it just doesn't have it. And then it's like, oh yeah, we were doing this thing. And so they do it consistently throughout this. And I really like it. And I think that her and Sam have wonderful chemistry. I thought the whodunit in this one was really fun as well. And what we heard was that it gets better as it goes on, and I think that is proving itself to be true. I enjoyed this one and the mystery of it more than I enjoyed the first one, partly because the bells were really fun and they had some fun characters, but also I just felt like the little, to your point, Alonso, the breadcrumbs they were revealing along the way, what it was keeping me at least really engaged, and so I appreciated that. I did, the how done it didn't love all like the explanation of it and the paper cut and the thing, but overall really, really good. I really enjoyed this. Dan?
Yeah, a lot of my feelings for the first one, I would just amplify those. This is better. I mean, it is definitely better than the first two. The mystery was fun. I think there's a lot of contrivances with this mystery and with some character actions and motivations that are just bonkers crazy. But the fact that I get to there means I cared enough to invest. So that's a big deal. And I did. It was a fun, backbiting choir, fighting over the solo, begrudged, husband of this wife, this kid. Like, all of that, even though it's really silly how it all comes together, all of that worked. And there's kind of a triple twist at the end where it's like, no, it was not that person, it was that person. And oh no, the thing's still going to happen. And then you get easily the best 5 to 7 minutes of this thing, which is Sarah Drew's performance at the end of this movie, where she finally like opens up to somebody against her better judgment and becomes vulnerable and talks about what she hopes for her life and does it in a little bit of coded language, but does it sincerely and honestly and very intimately. And I think that moment at the end carries this thing a long way. I mean, even if the mystery's bad, that it ends with with Sarah Drew and her narration and that ending scene. You almost can have a bad mystery and it would be on par with the previous movie. But because the mystery's entertaining, does it make sense? No, but it's entertaining. And so I had some more wait what's in this one than I did in the last one, but I had a lot more fun in this one than I did in the last one. And I'm more on board now than I was before.
It's time for all the feels where we talk about what in this episode gave us feels. Alonso.
I admire the fact that Sarah Drew is, I guess, doing her own singing here, but that they don't Jessica Lowndes it. You know, like in her movies, I was like, "Oh wow, you're amazing," and here everybody's like,
okay,
sure, yeah, fine, whatever, And so I love the fact that like this was not like a reverse engineered thing for everybody to talk about what a great singer Sarah Drew is, but for her to sort of gamely play along with the premise of the episode and have everybody kind of tell her, I've
never bought more someone that says, I've always dreamed about being in a choir, which is one of the dumbest lines of all time, but then showing up for a choir 30 years later and only being okay because they've not put any time into it. I thought it was exactly what it should have been.
And I'm even willing to forgive the I always wanted to be in a choir line after we get that final scene, because that you do get this idea of like her childhood was disrupted.
It does help. It does help because it really, what she's saying is I've always wanted stability, but
yes,
unlike this movie would have you believe, choirs are pretty easy to find.
This is also true. Like, even if she grew up in the foster program, they could have still worked in a choir.
Like, I was a part of 2 choirs as a kid against my will. Like, I had to be in 2 choirs. So like, you can't, like, choirs are there for the taking. But I know it's about stability. Yeah.
That was my main one.
Listen, I as far as potential murder weapons go, that sleigh was wonderful. The Santa sleigh thing that fell down, before it fell down, you really get to look at it. All I was thinking was, I hope it falls in my arms, so I can put it on my house next year.
That's weird.
I loved it, and I would like it if somebody can point me in the direction of that Santa's sleigh.
I do have a question though.
Sure.
Are we meant to understand that the sleigh falling was indeed sabotage, or was it an act
It
of-
was one of my what the hallmarks.
They never really circle
They
back. to
don't.
that.
Yeah.
I have to believe that dude, Clara's husband, was trying to kill her there. I have to believe that because he tries to
I
kill her
think,
with the poison, and he's gonna try to kill her with the microphone, and
Yeah.
that's his first attempt. So I have to believe that it's on purpose. If not, that's wacky noo. Like that's crazy.
Okay, sorry. Now we're really unpacking stuff. We think that Adam poisoned her.
Yeah.
Like,
So Debbie is.
Yeah.
He believes that Debbie killed Clara.
right.
That's what he believes, and so
Right, and he puts the bee pollen in the throat spray. But where? I don't get how that happened.
I don't
because
know
he's
how
not
it
even-
happened either, but the guy is a junk guy,
Yeah.
an electrician, and a catch-all. So we're supposed to believe that and so I think he just keeps upping the ante. What if we have the sleigh fall? What if I poison the only thing
Yeah.
the spray? All right, I'm just gonna electrocute her. Like that was how I took it.
It is all like who can say for sure? Because
Yes.
it's like all we really have of the poison is her being like, I could have swore I
if-
put my purse
Is he
over
Chimera
here.
too? I mean,
Yeah,
like
I know.
If
he's very
if
talented
the
at this.
sled is accident, then Sarah Drew should have minded her own business. Like the only reason the whole story happens is because Emily goes, "No, this is foul play." If she doesn't do that,
based off
Right.
of the way that this is
Okay.
mounted or whatever,
it has to be
foul.
foul.
And I guess because Adam's like trying to hurry him up is for hauling it away. He's worried about evidence. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The how doesn't click in, but the mechanics of it, of like why he would do it, and the motive does click in.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dan, anything?
One, I would say that after that sleigh falls and Peter Mooney's character and Sarah Drew's character are kind of arguing about the necessity of pursuing an investigation there. It was and I said something similar in the first one of these, but I just want to reiterate that maybe the best thing this movie does or this series does is it was so refreshing to have both of these leads have a point of view that makes sense and they're justified in having. And I know that sounds like a small thing, but we're talking about Hallmark. And so when she's insisting that this is foul play, she's drawing on her years of spy training and whatever she's been doing, and it doesn't sit right with her, and it makes sense. And this small town police officer is drawing on his years of being a police officer to go, hey, there's not enough here. Like, we've got things to do. There's not enough. And neither one of them are wrong.
Right.
And I just appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you don't go into that going, why is the cop so stupid? Or why is Emily so stupid? They both have a legitimate POV, and it's nice that they're both right. Neither one of them are wrong.
Sleighs fall all the time.
Sleighs
the world's
fall
an
all the
imperfect
time.
place.
And then also my feels
Man,
was
what
the
a-
fact.
How mad are you if you're Adam though about the sled? Like that felt like that couldn't have fallen in a worse way for me.
Yeah, that's tough. That whole thing is a wait what, but it is tough. You're right.
I
It's-
love it though.
Yeah, of course you do. I'm also very happy that even though I said it was in the box, my theory that someone out there knows her and is coming to find her and is gonna tell her in some cryptic way happened this week. So I was ahead of the
What's in the
Mistletoe
box?
murders, and I was very, very proud.
We
of
don't know
myself.
for sure that nunchucks aren't in the briefcase. though.
Nunchucks.
I
They
think
could be.
it's
They
important.
could numb. They
That's
could numb you.
important.
You
They
couldn't
could
feel a
potentially-
thing.
They could
And then the
potentially do
nun
that.
comes out of the wall.
I will say
Sister,
this.
sister.
I want to bring up Shelby's comment. Choirs aren't easy to find if you're looking for one not in a church. That's not a bad point, Shelby. So if
True.
you've always wanted to be in one, but like Marvin and Harry, they drive by a church and they're like, I'm not going in there.
I'm not going in
Maybe
there.
she, because of her past, she doesn't want anything to do with it, or she just doesn't, or she has a bad experience with the church.
Yeah.
Could be myriad of reasons why not to
Yeah.
go in church. And so then, if you've always wanted to be in choir,
I would
Yeah,
love to be in a secular handbell choir, but I just don't know if those exist.
What you said was an oxymoron. You cannot play handbells in a choir and not play Christian music. I think that's required. But also, my thing is that as a child, even though your childhood was not stable, like there is it's hard to keep your kids out of that stuff. And Aaron did a quick search and found a Greenville choir immediately. Like it took under 10 seconds. So her saying,
I'm trying.
When I was little, I
guys.
dreamed of joining a choir one day. It gets 10% of a pass because she just wanted a normalcy.
I dreamed.
It gets 90% of write a better script, please. That's what it gets. So there.
I think you're just mad about the choirs you were forced to be in, and so
Listen.
you can't even wrap your head around the idea that somebody would willingly put themselves into that.
The people that had to hear it are mad too.
Oh, you said it. You said I wasn't the only one required to be in there. It was a bunch of us. It was a bunch of us in that church one and the school one for that matter. There you go.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to the way one, the Hallmark here on
Deck the Hallmark.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. We're talking Mistletoe Murder, the Peril of the Bells. We're at the Wait What part of the show, so we're talking about what in these episodes made us go, wait, what? And I'll start with you, Alonso.
So I have a long-standing practice as a male film critic to not talk about women's appearances because I think there's a terrible history of that, and it's beside the point.
You hear that, Dan?
What?
But
Catching strays over here for no reason.
We're having fun, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think this falls into the category of costuming, so I'm going to bring it up. Debbie's wig is a hate crime. It is, as my friend Tony would say, it's one thing to take the wig out of the box, but you got to shake it. Like it is. It's so terrible and just screams wig from the next county. Maybe that's how she survived the sleigh falling on her head.
Yeah.
The wig has those
wig was an
magical
extra line of
powers.
protection.
That's right.
Yeah. Whew. All right. So we have established that Emily is like super spy,
Sydney Bristow. She's
Sydney Bristow.
Yes.
You're right. Yes,
Yeah.
she is Alias. She can't chase down a teen perp in a balaclava, like one Christmas tree knocked down and she's out of the game. Like
she's rusty. She's rusty. She's got to reflex those spy muscles.
Clearly, because like if the local high schoolers can outrun her.
I knew it was the brother before they zoomed in on the picture.
Well, Roger Ebert had a thing that he called the law of economy of characters.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The brother's the only one left.
You see that guy pull up in that car and explain that he's the guy that can drive people places, and he pretty much, and then you see that he's white, and then you're like, all right, well, I've got him.
And he's a jerk, So like that's all done. We hear a lot about the viral video of Brooke singing the solo so badly, and that's why they never want to give her the solo again, but we never get to hear it.
Uh-oh.
I want to know, I want the details of just exactly what did Brooke do? Because look, I'm sure much in the same way that like the Happy Holidays asked us to believe that two dogs lying next to each other is going to become viral video.
It's going to be good stuff.
If you are a bad singer in a local small town choir, I think you have to hit a certain level for that video to really get out there into the world.
What I got from the video is that she never sang. That's what I got from the video. Like they kept
freeze?
Yeah, like they kept waiting for her, and they're kind of like on a loop in the background. Like when are you gonna do it?
That's just sad.
And so that was my take on the clip of the video that we saw, is that she never actually sang.
It all seemed a little bit a little coy. I wanted a full detail give me a full screenshot of that video. And then finally and now that I say this out loud, I realize maybe it's not a wait what, but I would think that if you have a choir at a tree lighting, the choir sings and then they light the tree, and then maybe the choir sings again. But does the choir sing while the tree is being lit?
That's what they did in this town.
This is the first one, and we've watched hundreds of these where the tree lighting is not its own thing, but attached to a song of some sort. That is a more than fair wait what. I've never seen it before.
No countdown. We're just gonna when you hear this note,
that's when we
know what's happening.
It seems to me like the mayor has something to say. And
it's a whole thing. It's a countdown. It's a big deal.
Or if they're gonna sing during, they would be singing "Oh Christmas Tree," right?
Yeah,
I mean,
something.
Of course. So when the sleigh that I mentioned was falling, Dan and I were like,
Oh my gosh.
someone do something.
Nobody does a thing.
Someone do something.
Please.
Or because they like hear some noise first and they look up and then it begins to, they don't do anything. And Debbie doesn't do anything.
Debbie doesn't do anything.
Debbie doesn't do anything. But I'm
Frozen.
like, you know, I'm like, let's
She's
see how
got
this
wig power.
let's see how this plays out though, because it could be that the whole choir's like, you know, in on it.
That's
and
right.
So that's why they didn't do anything.
They all take one step back.
That's right. No, it just turns out everyone was
Turns
frozen.
out they're bad friends.
That's right.
There's no like, you could have just grabbed her coat.
You could have
Nobody
done
even
something.
reaches for her. It's like, well, and maybe they know about the wig. Maybe they know like it's gonna be fine. She's got the wig. We're good. It's
Yeah.
literally impossible to kill her while she's wearing wig. We know that. That's like something that's been proven. And so maybe they know it, but since none of the people in the choir are the ones responsible for this, they're just bad friends.
They're terrible friends.
And bad choir
An
members.
entire group of people stands completely
Yes.
motionless as
Yeah.
a giant fixture falls upon
That's right.
someone. No one does anything. No
Yeah.
one screams. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then I was just like the car. Let's talk about the car, right? So the car, Adam finds the car.
Yeah.
Brings it back to his place. He's like, got him.
Got
This
him.
is gonna go-
Debbie's car.
I know I'm going to be able to figure this out. And so Vera goes
That's right.
and is like, all right, I got to get rid of my prints because I know they're on this car. And so she cleans the car.
That's right.
And then she figures out that he's dead.
She drugs him and then
yes.
she finds him dead. Correct.
And so she puts him.
This is one of the dumbest
She
things of
put-
all time.
Is that your understanding, Alonso? She puts
She
him
puts
in the trunk
In the trunk.
Yeah, because
Of
that's how
the-
she cuts her
of
hand.
the car that she just spent cleaning.
That's right.
But her prints would have been on the car anyway because she drove Debbie to the hospital.
But after Debbie is gone, she finds the car at Adam's place.
Right.
So the car is there and she realizes.
Right, but what I'm saying is her
She
prints
could
would have
yes. She
would
has
have
an
organically.
alibi. She has a
Exactly.
reason for why she would
She
have.
Yes.
drove Debbie to the
Okay, I
hospital
got
in
you.
Debbie's car, so
Yeah.
she wouldn't need to.
So
clean up
it's
the prints.
dumb that she cleans it in the first place.
Yeah.
And then she cleans it and then decides to store a dead body in the car that she has wiped clean of evidence.
That will dispel suspicion.
That is like worst criminals in America
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it.
Dan?
Yeah, I also had a real big problem with the whole cut thing.
First, have you heard about the first one?
It's the deepest,
Yeah,
dude.
that was my
Whoa.
understanding of it.
Uh,
So Vera's cut's a little bit
Ve-
deeper.
Maybe,
really
I know.
So clearly, Vera and Emily were wearing the same gloves with the same padding because their cuts. Emily's wearing gloves that she loves that are very much. She cuts her hand in a very specific place. So basically, she then brings the cop in, Peter Mooney's character in, to bring Vera down to the station for questioning, based upon and only because they both have a cut on their hand in a similar location. Listen, I'm not Johnny Cochran. I can tell you right now, my client is not going anywhere near you because she has a cut on her hand that could be from literally anything. Like literally anyone I know, I would tell them, don't go to the police station. I don't even care if you did it. Don't go to the police station.
Oh,
like,
when a police officer asks you to remove a bandage, tell them to come back with a warrant.
yeah, it's called the Bill of Rights, mofos. Like, are you kidding me right now? Her cut is the exact same color and length, size, everything of my cut. She did it. There's no other place with sharp things. What? I was almost done with this movie when we had her put a body in the back of a cleaned, car and then get arrested for having cut.
Well, the good news is you could have been done with just part 2 because they're
That's right.
episodes. So
That's right.
you
That
could
is
have
good.
still
That is
enjoyed the
very
first
good.
part.
That's very good. That was brutal. Let me tell you what else is brutal. There's a scene. I don't know if I've ever gone from the highest of highs on a movie to the lowest of lows in this movie. When Emily decides she's found out that it's this kid who has broke into her store with the key. And she says in the narration, I'm not going to let the cop, I'm not going to take him to the cops. I don't think that's right. I'm like, you know what? good for Emily. Like, good for Emily for being like, this kid doesn't need a record. This is something that
in the system.
isn't in the purview of the police. I can deal with this, and it's great. And I was like, awesome. And instead, she gives him lifelong trauma. She decides he doesn't need to go to the police. He needs to be strangled with a seatbelt. Probably has some burns on his neck to remind him that every time he sits in the driver's seat of a car, he could die.
It's called Scared Straight, Dan.
Emily is like, the police, F those guys. I'm going to be a lot more humane about this. I'm going to strangle him with his seatbelt. I'm going to strangle him with his seatbelt, and then he'll know. That is terrifying. Instead of getting this guy a slap on the wrist from the police, she gave him trauma forever. And
yeah, that little punk's going to come correct now.
That is absolutely brutal. What else is brutal is learning that the warehouse that blew up that she's in her flashback is in the warehouse district. A little on the nose. Couldn't think of anything else or call it nothing. It was in the this is the district. We actually gerrymandered the whole thing, so it's all warehouses.
Only one guy actually gets a ballot to vote for warehouse district.
That's right. This one guy who owns all the warehouses, he's voting for the warehouse district. And then lastly, she has the gall to say, I have one employee, but please apply. I may need a second employee for the summer rush. She can do Christmas with just her and one employee. But July comes around, gonna need to double up.
This town gets it.
Gonna need to double up.
This town, you want to get it early.
Yeah, that's all I got.
It's time for What the Hallmark is, where we wonder what could have been, maybe have some clarity questions we still have. Alonso, what are you still wondering about after seeing this one?
I'm wondering what the ratio is regarding like how many murders have to take place before your small town choir disbands.
Well, that is similar to mine. Mine was more specific, but I like that one. Mine was, Debbie's still showing up, huh? Debbie gets a sled chucked on her.
She's committed to the bit.
Then gets her own throat spray poisoned. She's only the attempted murder only happens when she's with the choir. And she, after the second attempt of murder by someone she believes in the choir, she comes back for a third one. I couldn't believe it. She paid
to get that solo, and she's not going to fritter that away.
Debbie, you got to stay home. It's not about the doctor. It's just about your safety.
Sweet Deb. Listen, you got to sing.
Debbie's got to sing. Don't make her sing.
Don't make her sing.
So Violet is left in charge of the store a lot in this this movie, and she's left in charge of locking up, right? Mm-hmm. But then she loses key. But then apparently she's also still able to lock up without key, because they make a point of Guy finding key and using key to open the door. Is her store only a little boy? Doesn't have deadbolt? Because if you can lock it from behind, no problem. But
then why would you need the key at that point?
To maybe
because
if she
Sarah
is to
Drew does a
unlock the
whole
door.
big thing about going, you ready for a key? Like, you get the key.
Yeah, but maybe you would still need it in the morning to if she needed to unlock
alarm code also.
Yes,
correct.
Yes, but is her store only single lock that she could lock on her way out without key? But then would only need key. But then I don't know. But the fact that the door was still locked and the guy needed the key to break in, or at least is what we're told, leads me to believe that she was still able to lock the door. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the day that he does it, Sarah Drew locks up, but she loses key in back of car. He grabs key and unlocked door that Sarah Drew had locked.
So between her losing the key, she never had to lock it.
That what he just said makes sense.
Great,
yeah,
wonderful.
I like that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
My other one is these two try even less to make this not a movie than the first two. I honestly am thrilled that these exist.
I love how bothered you are by this.
I understand all of it, but if you want me to think it's serialized television, make it serialized television. Like, make the episodes.
But there have been shows that have done things.
Not like, well,
maybe it's a 2-episode arc. Maybe it's 3-episode arc. You know.
Yes, but episodes tend to stand on their own. I mean, in the first one, we get an explosion tacked on before episode 2. Episode 3, it's nothing. It just credits roll, and I was just like, okay, all right, we'll go to the next one. I
say good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this is the gateway to them actually doing it, then I'm thrilled. And also, I'm now committed enough to these 2 leads that I want to see more of this.
Yeah, they're great.
So I'm not that mad about it, but it's just very puzzling when you threw 3 Jane mysteries up there in 3 weeks, but you made people wait 6 weeks for this. And if you watched episode 3 and the credits just started rolling, you had to wait a week for episode 4. You'd just be like, why did I even I should have just waited 2 weeks. Like, there's no beginning, middle, and end of any kind. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like Holidays, which we'll get to, has a structure that requires it to be episodic.
Love it.
But yeah, this one, you can already tell that they're ready to go for when this November rolls around and Hallmark Mystery touts the premiere of, Mistletoe Murders, Peril of the Bells, and so, yeah, they're not even really faking it very well.
It doesn't bother me. I love it. I say bring it on. I wish they were all like this.
Yeah. Way to make up for it. Nicely done.
The Wheel of Cheese.
We did it, everybody. Congratulations to us. We'll be back tomorrow with Polar Opposites. Is that the next movie? Is that the movie we're doing? Yep.
And
Polar Frozen Opposites. Fish.
Frozen Fish. That's exactly right.
From what I understand, there's only one place that you can hear Alonso Duralde rank his top and bottom 5 or 10 movies.
Who can say?
From 2024 Countdown
That's
to
right.
Christmas. And it's by joining Bramble Jam Plus.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
It's the one way to hear it.
You want it.
That's
you
right.
Want it.
You
You
want to know.
need it.
That's right.
You need it. Alonso evacuated for this.
That's right.
He brought his podcast gear for this.
He brought the gear.
Let it not be in vain. BrainwashManPlus.com. Come hang out. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. Until then, may we be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmarks of Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to BrambleJamPlus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.